was not meant to happen. This could not happen. This is
happening. Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of The Coach's Son Parks the Bus. We have a special guest straight from the airport here for the podcast. Defenders are feared by him. The fans love him. Western United's number 9, Michael Ruhs, joins us. Michael, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm good, boys. Happy to be here. Privileged to be here. How are you, boys?
Yeah, unreal. Guys,
fantastic,
boys,
mate.
others, how are we?
Glad to be here. Michael was just picking up some fresh seafood from our friends at Costume Bros. So, Sotiri, Corey, thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Shout out to the boys at Roseland.
All right, well, let's jump straight into it. Michael, tell us a little bit how you got into football. You know, did you start young?
Yeah, so ever since I could remember, I was playing football. You know, I was basically born into a football family. My uncles, dad, mum, yaya, papu, grandparents in Greek for you boys. But yeah, ever since I was young, I remember kicking a ball and started off in a junior local club, just with my dad being my first coach, probably my best coach I've had. But yeah, that was the upbringing into football was just a WOG household, always watching football. All my cousins played, so if you weren't playing football, you didn't really have much going for you in your family. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all pretty much come from very similar backgrounds, but we obviously got forced into football from our fathers. And now look at us. We love it. We can't get enough. But obviously growing up in Australia, was there any other sports that you were interested in or any other sports that you played, or was it football or football only?
Not to toot my own horn, but being pretty athletic when I was growing up, I sort of dipped my hand into a bit of everything. So OzTag, AFL, basketball, I was a pretty good cross-country runner. So everything going up into about year 10, I was pretty much involved in everything. And I had to sort of make a decision of whether I was going to continue long-distance running or become a footballer. And one of my coaches at the time said, you know, you've got this stamina, you may as well use it in football instead of being a long distance runner. There's more opportunity. You know, all your family has played it before, and he felt like at least that there was a pathway for me in football, not only in Australia but also in Europe or somewhere overseas. So that was the main focus coming into, say, my older teenage years. That was just going to be football 100%, and now I'm here.
Well, look, at least in football, you still get to run. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you do long distance running, you're not playing football. I know we just had the Olympics, but I was saying to the boys only a couple of weeks ago, thinking long distance running must be the worst and most boring sport. Because what do you do for training? Run. What do you do for the event? Run. That's it.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But you made a good choice.
Hey, come on, people enjoy it. And hey, you had no choice but to be good at sport, because if you were rubbish, you would have copped a wooden spoon across the back of the head.
Because my school grades definitely weren't good. So that's all I had going for me. It was either football or I'd end up working at the fish shop. So I had to pick my poison there.
And that's why you're so fast, mate. As soon as that wooden spoon comes out, I'll see you later.
I'm running.
So you got your mum to thank too for your athleticism.
100%.
Did you idolize anyone growing up, and did you try and mold your playing style to, be similar to your idol, or, you just, had your own style?
Well, I feel like off the field I have my own style, but on the field, I always grew up watching Real Madrid, say the big players, Ronaldo, Bale, them boys. So I always liked Gareth Bale for some reason. He was like my idol, you could say, growing up, even though he's left-footed, I'm right-footed. But just the pace, the strength as a winger, just outpacing fullbacks, centre-backs. Athleticism was off the charts. So I sort of saw I don't know if I can really say this, but a connection to Gareth Bale. But
Say it
other than
100%.
that, I'm definitely not looking at Neymar or, those techie ballers because I'm completely off the mark there. So I just had to idolise someone that was a horse, basically, and that was Gareth Bale.
Adam used to call me Bale back in the day, but it was more because my ears were sticking out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I saw a compilation of Gareth Bale's goals just the other day, and people forget, like, what a player he was. Some of his goals that he scored, and pretty much all of them, were unreal. Like, obviously, he was competing with that side just with Benzema and Ronaldo in the same front three, but, like, everyone forgets how good he actually was.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And I feel like he was probably the most underrated out of that front three, and obviously kind of fucked himself over by all the golf shit that he used to do and Wales before Madrid.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, you can't take away like the footballer he was. And people say the Neymar or Bale debate. For me, it's Bale 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gareth Bale, man, can't go wrong. Champions League final winner multiple times, amount of Spanish League Cups, how much he helped his country as well. And, I never saw him as someone that was arrogant or someone that wasn't shy. So it was just in that perfect range of, not too competitive, but also a humble player. So it was a good role model for me, at least.
100%. I'm coming back to you, which is the next Gareth Bale as well. You spent a bit of time growing up at Sydney United, Sydney United 58.
Yeah.
Such a big club, produce so many big players for the country. What's something that they do there at Sydney United that produces all these players?
Well, I'd have to say, even though I'm not Croatian, I feel a strong connection to the fans and to the history of the club. That's what was really first evident to me when I got there. I think I was under 15s maybe when I first started playing there. And straight away you could see all the boys that would come watch the first grade games would come watch the younger boys games as well. So you felt like you almost owed it to these random people watching you that they're coming to support not only their first grade team but the club as a whole. So it felt like the boys at the youth level were somewhat connected to the boys in the first grade. So Sydney United was real good. The first year started off a bit rocky, and then in the under 16s we won the NPL, and that's sort of where my career started to take off, and I started training with the first team. Obviously, I played Australia Cup when I was 16 years old, made my debut, and I scored in that game against St. George where we won in extra time, which was something I would have never thought. And then the following FFA Cup game, we versed Wanderers. So at 17 years old, I had school during the day, and then I was going to play against Wanderers at Campbelltown Stadium, which funnily, is that the word?
Finally.
Whatever that is. Ended up making my debut there for MacArthur in the A-League. So it was sort of just like a real wholesome, feel-good moment for me to be there before I was actually there, if you know what I mean.
Would you say they've got the best food out of any of the NPL clubs?
Yeah, 100%. Those Chavapi rolls after a game. When I was younger, at least, I used to go down a treat, man.
Well, no wonder why everyone wanted to stay back. I mean, when you got food like that, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, obviously, you've experienced both an NPL level and now you're at an A-League level. What would you say is the biggest difference between the two levels?
I get this question asked a lot, funnily enough. So I reckon the main difference would have to be just how much they train in the A-League compared to the NPL. In the NPL, you're training 3 nights a week, hour and a half. A lot of the boys are coming straight from their jobs as tradies or pen pushers in the office. So I feel like that's the main thing. That's the biggest difference, because with A-League club, you're waking up 8 o'clock in the morning. You got to make sure you eat right, arrive on time. You've got 6 background staff that are there already. You got to, do your prehab properly, warm up properly, have the right attitude, right mentality, because, anything can happen in the football world. So I feel like that's the main difference, just how intense training can be and the kind of sacrifice that you have to put to be an A-League player compared to a NPL player.
It's obviously a lot very much more professional. It's probably something that's going to lead to my next question too, because my next question was going to be like, what advice would you give to a younger kid whose aspirations are to play in the A-League, who's someone, might be in the NPL now or might not be in the NPL, wants to go play into the A-League? Is it things like making up the difference on those extra training sessions? Because like you said, you're training pretty much every day now at an A-League level. At an NPL level, you're only training 3 times a week. Would you say that making up those extra training sessions by yourself or at an academy would definitely benefit someone to make that jump to the A-League?
Yeah, definitely. I reckon as a young kid, even though I was only training 3 nights at Senior United, whether that would be with my own age group or the first team, I was going to academies. My parents were driving me to different places like Football Tech or, just academies just to make that repetition more often than not. So definitely I feel like the more you train, obviously, the better you're going to be, the better chance you're going to have of getting into that next level of the footballing life. So definitely, at least when I was growing up, I was almost training probably 6-7 times a week. But you also got to love what you do at the end of the day. There's no point training if you aren't willing to, put all your effort into it and make sure that you're trying to do your best to get the best out of it. So that was my thing, at least. If I'm going to do extra training, if my parents are going to sacrifice their time and their money to take me to these academies, I'm going to do my best to repay that favour, and hopefully I'll end up reaping what I sow.
Yeah. We've mentioned it a few times before with other guests as well, like comparing obviously Australia, how well, how lucky we are to be in Australia, the facilities and everything that we have in life we can potentially have compared to the South Americans or the Europeans, whatever it may be, how football might be the only way out to have a good life. But I think it's probably something good for the young kids to recognise that we've got such good facilities. Like you go down the road, there's probably about 2 or 3, whether it's football fields, rugby league fields, whatever it may be, there's grass, there's fields, there's things you can do to try and better yourselves. And like you said, you really got to have that in you to make that extra effort to try and make it to the next step.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I hate when people say that, like, football is not a big sport in the country, because it still is. There's still, all you need is a ball and grass, or a brick wall and a ball. So it's like they're almost making an excuse that it's not favoured here, but at the same time, it's the biggest sport in the world. And like you said, there's countries in South America or Europe or Asia that all they have is a can or something, and they still love playing football. And I was listening to Benny's podcast the other day as well, and he was saying the opportunity we have here is incredibly greater than some kid would have in, let's say, Brazil or Peru or something like that. So, like you said, it's just all about, if you're really willing to do something with your football training, then I'm sure it will go a long way. Because I've been to Brazil and I've seen kids playing barefoot in the dirt with a ripped shirt, and they're just kicking around the plastic bottle, and they're just laughing and smiling. And you look at that and you think, there's kids at home that are spoiled with $200 soccer boots and the rest of it, and they're complaining about going to training. They don't want to run around, and it's almost sad to see how privileged kids can be and take it for granted when there's bigger problems in the world happening.
Bit of perspective. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's things like that can obviously make you like being a bit more creative. Like, I mean, if you have to use a bottle as well, it'll probably help you with your first touch and whatnot. They're saying that the Brazilians now aren't as good as what they used to be, because they're actually starting to get a lot more football pitches and grass that their kids are actually playing on. And I remember a story about, I'm sure you all remember Musa Dembele, how good he was on the ball and on his feet, how strong he was. I remember him saying that when he was growing up, he was playing in the streets as well, and they couldn't afford to have any goals. So when they were playing as kids, their goal was to try and stop the ball on a line at the end of the field or the end of the area and try and shield off their mates. That was considered a goal. And look how he became as a professional footballer, he was the best at doing that.
100%. Yeah, I agree. And like you said, it's almost about just being creative and being a kid at times. It doesn't always have to be, we've got to have the best boots that are out or the newest football. Like, I remember playing my brothers in the backyard, and it was a shitty soccer ball that was probably sitting outside for the past 5 years and been rained on, pissed on, and the rest of it. And we were still enjoying our time out there because it was just all we wanted to do was just go outside and kick the ball against a wall, kick it against the bin, smash a few glasses. But that was part of the fun.
Being a kid too.
Yeah.
100%. So, Michael, whether it be your early NPL days and then transitioning into the A-League, you obviously mentioned before you were so young when you first signed your professional contract. When joining a new squad, whether it was MacArthur or Mariners or Western United, how do you approach that? When you early days when you're going in, do you try to interact with the team right at the beginning, or is it something where you keep it to yourself, or you let your football do the talking?
Yeah, well, I think this is where my alter ego operation comes in. So, yeah, like you said, being a young kid, it can obviously be daunting to step into a first grade change room. I had people double my age, like Diamante, Mark Milligan, Adam Federici, Danny Vukovic. So it was automatically like, oh, how do I show respect to him, but also try show him that, like, I'm just a kid, I'm just here to fuck around, little bit of banter here and there. So obviously being in the first grade change room at Sydney United helped me a lot. That was more of just like a semi-professional first grade change room. So it kind of got me prepared for a professional change room. So I still had that sort of paying for fines, making sure the gear came in, showing respect to older players, but also like trying to create a bond, make friendships, have a laugh. I couldn't go out on team nights and stuff when I was that young, but it was almost like they took me under their wing as one of theirs. So I think that definitely helped me go into the A-League change room, and then I sort of created this persona. Benny calls me a class clown, but I don't know how much of a class clown I can be at times, but I'm sure I get on a few people's nerves. But I just try to make people laugh, try to make myself funny. Whether that makes me look like a dickhead at times as well, I'm sure it does. But that's just sort of been my way of making a friend or being accepted in a change room. Was the boys look at me and they think, oh, you can laugh at him, like he's not a shy kid that just sits in the corner, or he's not gonna lose his shit over small stuff. Like, you can have a laugh with him, and it doesn't matter what age you are. It's like he's one of my mates.
Yeah, you're probably sorry, James. You're probably so young at Sydney United. You were staying back for Javapi while they were going for beers after the game.
Exactly. You mentioned some great Australian players just then who you stepped in the change room with. I want to know who's the best player that you've ever played with, and who's the best player that you've come against so far in your short professional career so far.
Fuck, tough question. Probably, I don't know. I'll probably have to give you a top three.
Oh,
even better.
Give us top
not
10
in any particular order, but I'd have to say Pena is definitely up there.
Yeah.
Then I'd have to say Marco Tullio or Jason Cummings.
Yeah, right.
And third, probably an Australian out of the lot at least, would have to be Mark Milligan. He was amazing person, amazing player. He was my captain of my first professional career, and I couldn't have asked for a better first-year captain than him. And player I played against, I don't know. Benny's hard to play against, to be honest.
Is it?
I played against Benny.
Don't give him a big head. Don't give him a big head.
I've got to give him props.
A-League All-Star, isn't it? I mean, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, exactly. You're not wrong. So it's not like I'm throwing a random name.
That's right.
Who else? Marcelo's hard to play against.
Yeah.
I like to throw myself around, but I feel like I throw it at him and he throws it back twice as hard. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't really go any harder. So, yeah. Who else is there? I don't know. Off the top of my head, that's all I can think of at the moment.
There's a big list of
That's a
names,
good-
mate.
yeah,
that's
That's a big list.
Yeah,
You give it more than enough.
That's a big list. Well, even like you were saying, like when you're joining the club or going into a team and stuff like that. I know you obviously mentioned how you had a similar experience at Sydney United when you went into the first team. When you're going back to when you touched on how as a youth player and as a young player at Sydney United, you have to stay back and watch the seniors as well. Anyway,
Yeah.
Do you think that probably helped you with that sort of like integrating into a culture and whatnot, because you learn to appreciate what the people before you have done, but also learn to appreciate the older and senior players as well by staying back and having to watch them?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. We used to play at 2:00 and the game would be at 7, and I'd beg my parents to stay and watch the first team because that was sort of probably at that time the only achievable goal I had was to eventually play for Sydney United first team. And watching them play, it was almost like I want to be part of that team. I want to play with Paddy Nickas, Nick Stav, Patrick and Telmy and them type of boys. And I'd always watch and have that sort of pride that this was my team as much as it was theirs. So I was watching not only as a player, but as a fan of the club as well. And I reckon 100% helped me, finding a connection with some of those boys because I watched how they play. I watched how they acted. Obviously, players like Adrian Vlastilica, who's a bit of a hard head. I'm not going to go fuck around with him first day in a training. So I sort of scoped everyone out and thought, who can I get along with here? Who's going to find my jokes funny? Who's going to tell me to fuck off? But yeah, you're right, 100%. Watching the first grade boys was definitely a big stepping stone in making myself more comfortable in that sort of environment.
Yeah, and obviously you've have experience competing at a World Cup or under 17s World Cup. Yeah, tell us a bit about that experience, because obviously be exposed to so many different types of players from all over the world. Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, well, 2019 I'd say is my favourite year ever, and my first number was 19, so that's where I sort of got this lucky number for number 19 I have now. So yeah, it was all throughout the year. I was sort of in the selection pool of the under 17s World Cup, or at least that was the goal towards the end of the season, which was in November. But at the start of the year, I played for the Australian schoolboys. I was captain of that side in England for 30 days. And then I went to Turkey for my first camp in, I think it was end of February, early March. So that was my Joey's debut, you could say, my soccer Australian football debut. So we played 3 games there. And then I was just sort of in the squad ever since. And then we went to Canberra on a few trips. Then we went to England and we played against France, Brazil and South Korea.
Wow.
And that's where I scored my first goal at St. James's Park, where the England national team trained. So on that same pitch, and I grew up watching all their training sessions on that pitch. So to score there was like, man, this is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then it got to November and I was on trial in London for Crystal Palace, and I was living there by myself, and I got an email saying you've been selected in the under 17s Australia camp that will be traveling to Brazil for the World Cup. And it was just euphoric, really. I was running up and down in front of my apartment, and there was probably people there that were like, what the fuck is this Aussie cunt doing? Like, it's fucking freezing cold and he's running outside with no shirt on, recording himself. So, yeah,
But you were buzzing. You were buzzing,
Yeah,
getting that email, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. That was probably the best feeling I've ever had in my life. And not only that, I was away from school for, I think I was 138 days. So I was just traveling.
He's buzzing
the
even
world.
more because of that.
100%. I'd be in class and all of a sudden an email will come through. Yeah, you're coming to England for this tournament.
That's unreal.
Date, and I'm like, yeah, fuck this. I'm walking out.
See you later.
See you later, Mr. Jones. I'm out of
Yeah, 100%.
This
I'm like,
guy's
I'm
doing
going to
his
be there
fucking...
anyway. I'll learn about Shakespeare over there.
This
So,
guy's
yeah,
doing
it
his
was-
English exam, and this guy's going in England. No worries.
So-
Unreal.
So that was 100% the best year of my life. And obviously the tournament was unbelievable. We had a pre-camp in Chile. So we stayed in the capital in Santiago, and just to experience a new culture, a new way of life, new language, and the rest of it was really humbling and also a real eye-opener to the rest of the world as a young kid. You don't,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever gone to as many countries as I got to visit as such a young kid, and obviously play football there and, the rest of it. So, no, it's a really good tournament. Learned a lot, made some friends for the rest of my life from all different parts of Australia, and some boys that were playing in Europe and some boys that have gone to play now in Europe at some of the top leagues. So, yeah, it was a unbelievable experience and something I'll never forget.
Yeah, would have been unreal. I mean, I even just watching whether it's watching other teams train and playing against the other teams as well, just seeing how they operate, how they do things from their own countries.
Yeah.
Would have been such a good learning experience too at such a young age.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, I learnt so much just from, it was 32 days we were there, and we ended up getting knocked out by France in the semi-final, and we got smashed 4-0. But some of the players, it was like, if I can remember a few of them, it was, I think, that striker for Leeds. Got his name now. The young French, forgot his name. But there were some players like Garvey, I think, was there at the tournament.
Yeah,
Pedri, I think, as well. But yeah, that France team was absolute off its nut. They absolutely tore us a new one. And here's some boys from Australia trying to outplay all these players that have been training with academies and playing first team in League On. Like one of the boys, Adil Ayushi, I think his name was, posted a photo before the game of him and Mbappe at PSG. And we're thinking, like, what the fuck, man? I'm training at Sydney United. And my teammate Patrick can tell me, and this guy's got like Kylian Mbappe playing in League One. And I'm like, man, we don't stand a fucking chance here.
Joe Blow from fucking Adenza Park is compared to Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah, exactly. These guys are going over there to win the whole thing, and we're just like, how the fuck did we get out the group stage? What do we do now, boys?
Yeah, but they haven't had Chivapi from Adenza Park like that. That's the difference.
I know where I'd rather be.
That's the difference.
So something amazing also comes with a professional contract, and that's a start in a FIFA game.
Yeah.
I've got to know. Do you still play with it? Come on. You play with yourself on FIFA. Come on, tell us.
100%.
That would have been a surreal feeling, right?
Oh, honestly, I've played FIFA since I was a kid. I think my first FIFA account was 2014, my first Ultimate Team. So I was 12 years old playing, and I'm 22 now. So for 10 years, I've been playing. And the last 4 years or so, I've been in the game, and just watching every year my stats slowly go up, my overall go up, and I'm like, fuck, only 75 pace. Like, I want to call someone up at EA and say, hey, if you want to race, then we can race. And I might up the pace stat. But nah, 100%. Just the first day, as soon as the game comes out, straight to the transfer market, buy Ruhs for 200 coins, and put him straight onto the bench. So, 100%.
Well, that's funny. Back 10 years ago, we would have done the same thing. We would have made, I would have made a Steven Zagaris, you would have made a Michael Ruhs, and that would have been 99 rated. Now you're what, 60 something? You've gone down since 10 years ago. Well, actually, touching on FIFA, I wanted to ask you, what do you think your greatest football attribute is? Because you already know what all your stats are. I was going to rattle them all off. Sprint speed, 78, acceleration, 74, balance, 72, strength.
Yeah, we do our
72.
research on this podcast.
I love it.
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, so do you think that's accurate, or are they your best footballing attributes, or do you think, we need to give FIFA a call? Like, hey, come on, mate, what's going on here? Like you said, do you want to rate? Do you want me to rate someone here?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I've seen a few of the boys' stats, and I'm like, how does he have more pace than me? Like, I'd smoke him running backwards, but somehow on FIFA he's got more pace. But all A-League players have shit stats. I'm not trying to compare myself to anyone special that has a good card on FIFA, but I could probably do a bit of an adjustment on a few stats. So that's my personal opinion, at least. Obviously, EA probably doesn't even watch me, and they've just gone, yeah, we'll just put him up +2 in whatever. He scored a couple goals this year. Yeah, here's a +1 shooting. Good on you, mate. Enjoy your 60 rated card.
Well, if like a coach ever comes to you and be like, oh, you got to work on your agility, well, you can be like, well, it says here on FIFA, I'm rated 72, mate. So that's one of the best in the team. You need to work on your agility.
Just brings his card everywhere he goes.
Something I would say as well.
Oh,
100%. You got to do a special celebration for when you score. Got to do something that points to FIFA and the crowd to listen. Put my stats up.
Yeah,
Put my stats up.
Like Balotelli's got the shirt underneath. You just have your FIFA card on the shirt underneath. It's like, unreal.
Undergrade question mark.
Yeah. 99.
Is that good enough?
We're going to get you a T-shirt. You're going to wear it next game. Next time you score, you've got to put it up.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Coach's son.
Score, though.
Yeah.
Coach's son with the FIFA card.
Yeah. Coach's son, and then Cosby Bros at the back.
That's it. Make it a full sponsorship.
Well, actually, Ben was saying last time that you guys can email them and get a 99 rated card on Ultimate Team. Is that true? Like, have you done that?
I saw Mitch Austin has one, or had one, when he was playing.
Yeah,
And
right.
I don't know. I'm going to expose myself here. I have emailed, Instagram message. I've spoken to my media guy. The rest of it, said please just try and get me in contact with EA. And he's like, man, it's like trying to get in contact with the government. It's impossible. Like, they do not care about you. And I'm like,
we know a few people.
Yeah, 100%.
The podcast will get you that 99 rated card.
Surely, I need it.
You can work on that T-shirt, mate. Any promotion can help. When you score that goal, coach's son feet with a new favourite card, what you want it to be, we'll get you there. Trust me.
Sounds good.
Make it happen. So playing at the top level will probably come with some wild and some crazy fan interactions. Is there anything that sort of sticks out to you that might have occurred over your career so far? You probably the away fans or something giving it to you a little bit.
There was probably one in particular. My first season at MacArthur, and we were in the semi-final against Mariners, and it was the 118th minute, and I went and scored to make it 2-0, and I've ran over to the crowd and pushed them and done like whatever this is, my house or whatever, and some guy is just like borderline spitting on me, like just screaming at me, and I'm looking over saying, yeah, what are you going to do now? 2-0. And then after the game, I get a message on my phone, and it says, I know you're staying in Terrigal. Wait till I find out what room number you are.
No way.
I'm like, I was shitting it. I'm like, lock the door, put the bed in front of the door, make sure the back door's open if I need to run out. I was like, there's a mafia in Terrigal on my back right now,
Jesus.
and I need to make it out here alive.
That's crazy, man.
That was probably the only time that I've copped like personal abuse. Obviously, there's some keyboard warriors that write on, the post after a loss or when we don't play well or don't score, and you just look at their profile and just start laughing. Chatting shit.
Now every time you score, you just pick up the ball and run to halfway. No celebrating. Celebrate it.
Team them out, start.
Yeah, celebrate. Ball down.
Do these ones.
Sorry.
That's it.
Early shower. Sorry, don't hurt me. See, that's why I love playing for Sydney United, because I didn't get to cop any of those abusing from the Crow fans. So it was always like they'd back us over the other players or the other supporters. So it was always
Yeah.
like they were going against Rockdale, they were going against Marconi and punching on with each other, and you were like, "Fuck, that's my team. Thank God I'm not going against that,
Yeah.
because I'd
Absolutely.
be running home."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that would have put obviously some decent crowds, even at an NPL level of Sydney United. That would have been a good introduction, obviously, to the crowds of the A-League. What I'm saying, like the more the capacity of the stadiums and the volume of the numbers of the people, it probably would have been a good introduction for you to go from having decent crowds in the NPL then playing in big stadiums in the A-League with a lot more people. It would have helped you a lot for sure.
Yeah, 100%, especially Sydney United. And that year before I signed for MacArthur, we actually won the league. So it was sort of like, obviously, the more games you win, the better football you play, the more fans you get. So all throughout the year, it was like, well, this team's winning, more people are going to go. So it was like every home game was full, and you had the SUS throwing flares, all the banners, chanting, screaming, yelling, and it was like probably bigger than some A-League crowds that I've played in. And to have that experience in the NPL was just probably not many people get to experience that. And like you said, it sort of got me ready to play in those games. Now playing for West United against Melbourne Victory at Amy Park, or Melbourne City in a big game, or when I was at MacArthur playing against Wanderers, Sydney FC, and having the RBB scream and yell and the Cove and that. So it did definitely help in that sort of scenario. I've been here before. There's no need to be nervous. It's just another game of football. And you sort of zone the crowd out when you're on the pitch. You can barely hear them, and it's like you're just in this football bubble, and it's just you and 21 other players, and you're going to do anything you can to win.
Yeah, 100%.
Playing there as well, I just wanted to say, probably would have trained your lungs as well, because you probably would have had 4,000 people smoking in the stadium going to play in an A-League ground where obviously you can't smoke in there. That's why you're the fittest bloke.
Yeah, 100%. All the flares coming on the field.
Yeah, it's wild.
It was actually, sometimes you're like, man, these guys are a bunch of hooligans
Yeah.
and thugs, but then you're like, man, they're all cheering for you, so
Yeah.
And the
It
nicest
made it-
people off the field.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we've come to the final
It's
question.
that time.
The big question.
It's that time.
Big question.
I've been
Yeah.
thinking about this all day.
At the airport.
Yeah, the final right home. Oh no, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, tell us, who is your coach's son nomination and why?
I'd have to say one of the boys from the Mariners. He came in a bit later in the year that they ended up winning it, but Christian Theo Harris, 100%.
I love it.
When he first came in, he was the quietest, nicest bloke I've ever met in my life, and I still play PlayStation with him to this day, and he's nowhere near that first person I met. So as soon as he came in, Nick Montgomery had him under wraps completely, came in, glasses, nicely dressed, jeans, button up and everything. And now he's off the rails now. But that first 6 months, absolute coach's pet. But he's honestly one of the most hard-working guys I know. And he ended up winning the treble and a grand final the year before. So he's won 4 trophies more than I have in the space of 2 years. So maybe I need to take a leaf out of his book, because I don't know how he's done it.
And he's won a coach's son nomination too. So, I mean,
Add it to
Whether
the
it's
list.
one or there.
Now you're going to have it in common, yeah.
That's it.
we're going to have to get him on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fire back.
Absolutely.
He'll love it.
And then we'll play FIFA with
unreal.
him later.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, that's the best. Well, I think that comes to wraps. Michael, thank you very much for coming onto the Coach's Son, man. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, boys. Love
Thanks.
it.
Thank you,
Appreciate
mate.
it. And good luck with everything going forward. We'll have to get you on down the line again.
Sounds good. I'll be
100%.
here.
Unbelievable.
Appreciate it, boys.
Thanks, man. Well, thanks everybody
Thanks,
for
Michael.
tuning in. And Michael, thanks for parking the bus with the boys of the Coach's Son. Tune in, everybody. We'll be back again next week.
Thanks, boys.
This was not meant to happen.